Thank you for joining me, Adam. I'm very excited to go through this tutorial today and launch the Pabau integration with EnquiryBot. Obviously, EnquiryBot has been linked to Pabau for quite some time now, but in the past we had to use the third-party software, Zapier, in order to connect, and that's just a bit complicated and not so secure in terms of the data. So I'm really happy we now have this integrated solution where we can send leads or contacts for patients directly into Pabau. And I'm also really excited about the online booking capabilities now, which is a new feature that we've just released. So thanks again, Adam, for joining us. I'm going to pass over to you to sort of navigate for this session on the screen, if you'd like to do the screen share. And I think it would be great if we could start with showing EnquiryBot, I guess, in all its glory on the website for anyone who hasn't yet seen EnquiryBot.
Absolutely. No, thanks for sorting this out, and really excited to launch this. So, as you said, the integration with Pabau is not just one integration. We've created 3 separate integrations depending on what the requirements are. The first one is integrating the booking system into the chat widget. The second is creating a lead in Pabau's lead manager. So it sends all the information from EnquiryBot into the lead manager. Or if you're looking to, if you don't use the lead manager in Pabau, you can use the lead manager in EnquiryBot and then send a client or patient into Pabau. So we're going to go through that now, but essentially EnquiryBot is your website concierge or receptionist. So if someone called the practice or walked in, someone will be there to help them. It's the same thing with the website. That's what EnquiryBot does. So as soon as someone visits the website, EnquiryBot engages them, welcomes them to the practice in a really professional and proactive way, and signposts all the key services, treatments, or conditions, like here. And it's all custom built to each clinic and practice, so it really feels that personal touch. So, for example, let's go through that first integration, the booking system. So let's say someone is interested in booking consultation now. Instead of redirecting them to a different link on the website, which potentially can lose patients if internet breaks down, or they get sent to a different tab. Some people don't like that. What we can actually do is either go straight to the booking system, or we can offer unique links. So the actual the patient going through this chat can choose the treatment that they're interested in. So, for example, hydrofacial, breast augmentation, cheek filler, etc. As they click that, it opens up the Pabau chat widget within the chatbot, and they can then go through the whole booking journey and process. And we can actually define and customize those links depending on whether you want the patient to click choose the staff member at this point, or if they don't. You can maybe explain that a little bit more in terms of how that works.
Yeah, there's some settings in Pabau around the online booking. So things like, do you want it to just pick the next person available, or do you want to allow your website visitors to choose? Having a login here even, you can choose whether you want customers to log into the Pabau portal, or whether they can just give you some basic information. But the main benefit of this is often, especially if people are on their phones, I think most people will find about 70% of their website traffic is through mobile device. When you have to load up a new page, often you will lose them, and it will go sort of to an external site, whereas this really helps to get them to where they want to be very quickly. And of course, if they're not quite ready to make a booking yet, then there's lots of other options, and that's what the chatbot does, is it talks them through exactly what they want to do here today. Do they want to book now, or do they want to make an inquiry? And I think what we've seen, especially with our mutual clients, is we've seen just so many more conversions in terms of website conversions. So there's a lot of people that will be visiting your website even today, and they will leave your website without leaving their details. And that's because maybe they can't find your contact form, they can't find the information that they're looking for. One of the things, one of those hot topics of debate is prices as well. So if you are a clinic who likes to publish your prices, you might actually have an option here for price list, and that really just helps the people on your site navigate without having to click around and find what they're looking for. So Adam here is just doing an inquiry now, and sort of inquiring about a specific treatment. One of the reasons why I love EnquiryBot as well is because they have so much experience with aesthetic clinics. So they know exactly what the patient journey is like. They know the type of treatments that we do in clinic. And here's some examples. There we go. And we can capture all of this information in this initial interaction and pass that on to your sales team or whoever's picking up that booking, so that when you get on the phone to them, you know exactly what they're looking for, you know what time of day to call them, and all of this data is kept all the way through to when they have their treatment, they're now a patient. And so it's much more effective than just a contact form going into an email account, which can often get lost.
Yeah, you're right. And what we can also do, because we're having a conversation with the patient at this point, if they're not ready at the start of the conversation to book a consultation because they're trying to find out what you do, as they go through the chat and find out if you can you offer a treatment to suit their condition, at that point we can offer again the ability to book a consultation and push them back into the booking system. So it's constantly prompting at every one point to get the patient to the through the journey as the practice wants or as they want. So it's laser focused on getting the information from the patient. So
I'd also just add there are some clinics who are a bit nervous about launching online bookings because they don't want to sort of open up the floodgates on their diaries. But I would at least recommend having a consultation as an option for new patients to come and book in. So even if you get their interest, so they are interested in the hydrofacial, etc., just allow them to book at least a consult so that you can get their foot in the door. Because often people will be on your website out of hours. So, you know, if you look at your website statistics, if you've got Google Analytics installed, if you haven't, get it installed because you definitely need it. And if you look at your website statistics, often you'll be having up to 40-50% of your website visitors coming to your site overnight when you're closed. So if you can at least help get them an appointment, get answers to their questions, you won't lose them. They won't go to a competitor's website and find what they're looking for there.
Absolutely. And what we've just gone through whilst you were chatting is just that full flow of what you can do. As I said, that is just an example. We customize the whole flow, have pictures, ability to upload pictures of your current condition or treatments that you're looking for, so you can give that kind of pre-qualification, pre-consultation, which really helps practices understand what that patient needs before they've even spoken to them. And then have a nice personal sign off from the actual practice manager or the treatment coordinator or the whoever that is. It really adds that personal touch anyway.
So once they've entered all their information, we know what treatment they want. Where does that information go next?
Well, the first most important thing is that we send an automated response back out to them based on what they've inquired about. So we can really personalize that email response, especially if this comes in the evening or before any staff are available, even weekends, which has, again, a link for the Pabau booking system that they can rebook or book, attachments, links, however that works. But it just adds that follow-up, that personal follow-up. But that inquiry then goes into what we call the central inquiry management system, which within EnquiryBot. And that is initially a central inbox, which looks something like this. It allows you to have all of your inquiries, which come from Instagram DMs, Facebook DMs, contact forms, EnquiryBot itself, phone calls, all into one place. So you can see this one that we've just created here on that demo. So you've got the full conversation that patients had with the bot, any pictures that uploaded, and any autoresponders that have gone back out. What the staff can do at this point is they can plug their email accounts in and start responding to the patient from by email and have a two-way conversation. And the same way, if you've got Facebook and Instagram links, you can have a two-way conversation through your Facebook and Instagram accounts, but the conversation's all in here.
Yeah, I think this is a really key feature actually, because leads or new patients will contact you in a number of ways. They'll contact you through Instagram, they'll come on your website, and it's great to have all the chat in one place, especially if you've got multiple staff dealing with the inquiries. They can at least see what the last conversation was with that person, no matter what channel that it was coming from. So it's really great to get the history, text messages, everything is going to be here in this conversation. And if you do use EnquiryBot's lead manager, the central inbox at this stage, you can still keep this conversation over in the patient record in Pabau. So we'll show you a little bit later on when you send the data over to create a contact, as we call it, but it could be a patient if you call them patients. When you create that new record in Pabau, it will send a link over to this conversation. So later on, once you're doing the treatment or a couple of treatments moments in, if you want to have a look at what that initial conversation was, you've still got all of the history and you don't have to sift through emails backwards and forwards. It's just all in one place.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the on top of that, the ability to add notes as well and set tasks. So the system is then prompting you to and reminding you to follow up with each inquiry or each patient inquiry. And there's also the ability to track value as well of how much this value or how much this patient is potentially worth. And as I said about tracking them, it's not just about responding; it's also managing this the patients within patient workflow or pipeline, as we call it, so that each stage in your pipeline represents the stages in which your patients go through into the point where they make a decision, whether that's booking a consultation or paying a deposit, whatever that is. So you've got each inquiry in here, you're dragging and dropping them through the different stages of the pipeline or patient workflow, and the system actually automates things off the back of that. So for example, as you move them into a particular stage, let's say that's a future follow-up, the system can automate a campaign of emails that go back out to them on a daily, weekly or monthly basis, however you want to do. Where this goes to the point where we integrate it into Pabau is two ways. So we can either integrate Pabau as the inquiry comes in and creating a lead, which basically the automation would start here, or as the consultation is booked. And we're going to go through that now and how all that works.
Yeah, and if you're wondering whether to use Lead Manager in Pabau or use the back end here, the inquiry box, it doesn't really matter. I'd say there's pros and cons of both. The main thing is you just must be using a system for your new business. You can't leave it up to going into an email account. You have to be able to run reports and see exactly where you're at with each new lead. So Lead Manager in Pabau is great. If you want to just open up Lead Manager as well, for anyone who hasn't seen it, you might have a Pabau account, but you're not using Lead Manager. It's the black icon on your menu there, so leads. Got a little person there. If you click into that, and also new leads do come up on the dashboard if you integrate sending it over at the lead stage. And here you'll have a list of this. Here's some tests in our demo account, but here you'll have a list of all those open leads. If you click into one, it looks very similar to the client card. So you have got similar pipeline stages that you can customize to your journey. So it's very similar to the EnquiryBot sort of stages. I'd say the kind of main benefit of having your leads going into EnquiryBot is that conversation. As I mentioned before, you've got that two-way communication and the history there, whereas in Pabau we just see everything that's been sent out. If there's a response, the response would go back into that other channel. So I do think with the conversations, it's very good on EnquiryBot. But the pro of using it in Pabau is if you were to convert this booking, so say you're on the phone to KKKGGG and you click convert, it will go straight over to the calendar for you. So you've got convert and book, that button at the bottom, and it will take you straight over to the calendar. So there's a little shortcut if you're using Lead Manager here. However, as soon as you drag and drop the contact into the booking stage on the pipeline in EnquiryBot, as Adam was just showing before, it would actually send within seconds all of the information that you've kept in EnquiryBot over and create a new contact for you. So as soon as you go to make the booking, you'll be able to search for that client. So there are pros and cons of, well, not really cons, but pros of each method. It doesn't matter which you choose. The main important part is that you are managing your leads in one central place.
So in order to set all this up, as I said, there's two ways. You can either create a lead within Pabau's Lead Manager or create a client in the PMS. So you'd only do that if you were using Pabau's Lead Manager, then you wouldn't necessarily need to use EnquiryBot's pipeline. So the automation, we call it, would stay in here. So we're going to go through that first, then we're going to go through how to create a client within Pabau. So within our pipeline in here, what you would need to do is click the automate button, and that basically flips all these cards up to create some automation. And this is where we talked about the ability to send out campaigns and emails and things like that based on where the patient is in the journey. But one of those automations would also be sending to Pabau. So if you go onto the new inquiry stage, because that's where all new inquiries from EnquiryBot would come in, click the plus button, search the automation, and you'll find the 2 Pabau links here. So what we're going to do is sending the lead to Pabau option. What that then does, it creates a card or a setup card in here, which will just prompt you for some information. So the name is just the name of the integration. So it's just Pabau link or whatever you want to call it. And that's it. I'll let you explain the others so I can do the demonstration.
Yeah, absolutely. So your Pabau domain, that is the URL which is in your browser. So if you go over to your Pabau login and just drag that https crm.pabau.com, that's the link that you need. Some accounts will be on a dedicated server, and if so, you'll have a slightly different name on your link, but just paste that in there. And then the next thing you need to do is get an API key. So if you've never done that before, you're just going to head on over to the Pabau dashboard, click on the setup button, and then you're going to go into the settings, which is the 4th icon along, and then you're going to hit on API keys. So it just looks like a little key icon. Now, an API key is essentially just a really long alphanumerical number and letters. And what you're going to do is just create a new key for this purpose. So add new key on the top right. And with this new key, you're going to say that it is available for both contacts and leads. We can use the same key for both stages, whether you send it as a lead or send it as a contact. So create the key. There we go. And then all you're going to do is select that long numbers and letters there, and you're going to paste that into the window that's on EnquiryBot. Then as you scroll down, you'll see that some of the basic credentials are already linked in the integration. So that's your first name, last name, email, phone number, and the redirect link in the source. So those are like the fundamentals. You have to have those in. That's the minimum requirements. And then you can start to add some of your sort of business specific fields, the things that you asked in the chatbot. So if you ask things like, you know, what treatment are you interested in, or what time would you like to come in, who would you like to see, all of those fields will be there available on EnquiryBot. So for example, treatment. And what you're going to do is you're going to map it over into a place in Pabau. So in Pabau, we have something which is called custom fields. And if you've never set one up before, we're going to go ahead and walk you through it. It's very simple. You just click on to set up again. And then you're going to hit data, which is the 3rd app along. And then custom fields is on the 2nd line, about halfway along. There we go. So just click onto custom fields, and you can sort them into categories if you want to have fields just for leads, etc. We made a few earlier, so they'll be down at the bottom. However, if you did want to make a new one, all you need to do is just at the top there on the left, create new custom field. Just down a little bit, there we go. And then what you're going to do is just select the category. Again, if you want a custom category, you can, maybe for inquiries, and then call it. So in this case, we'll call it treatment interest. And then you're going to display this for both leads and contacts. And the reason we're doing that is because we want that field to stay with us all the way through the patient journey. So when they get converted to becoming a patient after they've, you know, made that initial inquiry, we'll still have that information later on. So we can run reports on that and use that business intelligence. That's all we need at this stage. And we're just going to hit create the custom field. So now we just created that field. If you just want to scroll down there, Adam, to the bottom, we're going to grab our ID number. So you just click into the field that you just made. And you'll see there we've got a custom field 35445. So just select everything that's inside the brackets, copy that over, and you're going to just paste it into your EnquiryBot window. So what that will do is anything that came through into the treatment section of the chat window, it will go across into a custom field in Pabau. So we can add that on, and then you're going to go ahead and add any other fields that you feel are appropriate. In the help article, in the tutorial, step by step, we have got some recommended fields. So if you go on over to the help section, help.enquirybot.com, you'll see some recommended fields. There's a top 10 list there, but really you can be creative, and any information you want to track, you can pull through into Pabau. If you go up into the Pabau lead manager, I'll show you where that information will sit. So just on the Pabau dashboard, if you click onto that lead manager again, and just click onto any of the leads that we have there as an example. And then under the details to section, at the top there, that's where all of the custom fields would be. Now we've got lots of tests that we're doing here, but of course you can organize this in any way that you want. One of the best fields that I would say to bring across is what we call the website entry. So if you go over to EnquiryBot, you'll find that in the list. It is actually searchable as well. So you can start writing the word entry and you'll see the entry point there of the website. Now, this is really important if you are tracking, if you want to track the performance of your marketing campaigns. It will have some information there about how the visitor entered your website, where did they come from, and that you can pull all the way into Pabau, so that then when you are running your end of month reports, you can see exactly the return on your investment for those marketing efforts. So definitely map that website entry point across. That's one's really important. So you'll carry on selecting the fields, mapping those over to custom fields in Pabau. And then as soon as you've chosen all your fields, and you could even just keep it to the basics to begin with and build on it over time. Once you've done that, you're just going to hit save and the integration is done. So that means as soon as a new inquiry lands in EnquiryBot, it will create a new client card in Lead Manager. And you'll also see on the dashboard, you'll see that new inquiry pop up so your team can respond.
And as you said, Natalie, one of the most important things is on those integration is to bring through the full conversation that patients had with the bot. So you get that full conversational flow, so that there's no, again, you're not having to look back at EnquiryBot and try and log in and try and find them. It's all in there, so you can just refer back to the original conversation. So there's context to the data that they've completed.
Absolutely. Now, the second or the other way that you can manage this, if you didn't want to use Lead Manager in Pabau, say you like the columns and you want to use EnquiryBot in this way, as soon as you have converted the patient and they're ready to book, if you drag the contact into the consultation booked phase, that is when we can set up the integration to create a contact or a patient in Pabau's contact manager. So in the same way, we're going to select the integrate, automate, client to Pabau, create client in Pabau, that exactly. And in the same way, you'll just name it. So this will be, create the client. We'll paste in our domain as we did before. There we go. And then paste in our API key. We can use that same API key. However, when you're choosing to set this up, you would usually choose one method or the other. You won't do both. So you'll either use Lead Manager in Pabau or EnquiryBot, or you'll create them as a contact. Now, when you create a contact, you also need to send over what's called the Pabau account number. If you don't know your Pabau account number, I'll show you where to find it. You just go over to the help section in Pabau. So click on setup, and then it's the I for help. And then you'll see your account number is there. So it will be 4 or 5 digits. You're just going to go ahead and copy that number and just put the number into the field. In the same way as we did before, you're going to go ahead and map those fields across. So everything that you've had in the conversation on the chat widget, as well as any additional business intelligence you might want, like that website entry point. So you'll go ahead and map those over in the same way into the custom fields in Pabau, and then just save your integration. And that's it. So it's very easy. You don't need to be a developer in order to connect this. However, both of our support teams are there for assistance if you need us to help you get this set up.
So you're right, absolutely. And one of the things that you may not, if you're not 100% sure what the field names in EnquiryBot relate to in terms of the data that's being captured, what our support team can do is give you a spreadsheet or give you a document which outlines what the field identifiers are and what the data that you're collecting, so that it gives you a bit more context again to what fields you need to connect into Pabau.
So thank you, Adam, for walking us through how to set up the integration between Pabau and EnquiryBot. If you did want to have a go at doing this yourself, we've got help articles with step-by-step instructions and videos on how to get this set up. But please do reach out to either of our support teams. If you need some assistance, we're there to help you. And if you don't yet have either a Pabau or EnquiryBot, Adam, if a Pabau customer needs to set up EnquiryBot, how do they do that?
Well, we'll put a link on this webinar anyway on how to reach out to us and either get a demo, get a video recording, or even sign up. And that, yeah, you can do that from the link, or you can head on to EnquiryBot.com.